I, 26-year-old female, met my coworker, 37-year-old male, a year and a half ago. He and I bonded immediately due to our nationality. I also helped him a lot when he first started by showing him how to navigate our company systems and culture. We work in similar but separate departments, and a lot of our work overlaps. At the time we met, a lot of us were working a hybrid schedule, and we were very understaffed. So a lot of the time I had no one to talk to except for him. This made it so that we bonded even more. Over time, the company has hired more people, so our team has grown. While I get along very well with everyone, the coworker in question is my work bestie. Today, my boss called me into his office and basically said, "I am telling you this because I care about you and your professional growth and career. But the way you interact with your coworker is being scrutinized, and I recommend that you are more mindful of it. I personally don't care what you do, and I have never seen anything I'm uncomfortable with, but I just want you to know that others are looking." I was shocked. I told him this. I said, I really am confused because I have never done anything to make him or anyone else believe our relationship is more than friendly coworkers. At first I felt shocked and betrayed because I thought my team, which includes my coworkers' team, had my back and we all got along great. But clearly, people are talking behind my back. So all day I've been thinking about this, and I was very dry with him. He asked if I had brought lunch so we could eat together. I told him I was too busy to have lunch today. I basically didn't speak to him, and I felt bad about it, but I'm not trying to fuel this thing. So now, I need stranger opinions to tell me if my coworker and I are being inappropriate. I will try to be as objective as possible. Here are some of the possible things that may have caused this. 1. We always have lunch together. He will ask me, "Hey, did you bring lunch?" most days, and when we both brought lunch, we will go and eat it together in the break room. Sometimes if I don't bring lunch, I go out and buy it alone and eat alone. Other times, if we both didn't bring lunch, we will take a short drive to pick something up together. All our lunches are taken in public places where anyone can walk in and join us or hear our conversations. 2. We talk about personal stuff during our lunch. Our plans, whatever we are stressed about, we support and encourage each other. When I have a difficult project or task and am feeling stressed, he will help me and vice versa, either by giving a pep talk or by actually helping because we both have specific skills in our roles that complement each other. 3. We message each other on Teams a lot. Not every day though, but for example, he will ask me how I'm doing. I'll say, "I'm tired, I want to go home." And we will complain about wanting to go home. Again, this isn't every day. If I work from home, we don't usually talk. We keep each other updated on what's going on in the office company, make jokes about wanting to quit for the day to end, etc., etc. Again, never anything intimacy in nature, just very friendly. 4. We stop by each other's offices and make small talk. We talk about our weekend, our pets, our work, etc. Again, this is a pretty public office where anyone can walk in and listen. Nothing we discuss is ever inappropriate. 5. The one thing we do that may be inappropriate and that maybe people think is weird. We share soda and food. We like the same type of soda, but we are both very health conscious, so when we want to cheat on our diet, we buy one soda and split it. We always use separate cups, of course, and sometimes he pays for the soda, other times I pay. When there's donuts in the break room, we will grab one and break it in half because we are both calorie cautious and prefer not to waste food. Last week I had a very long meeting, and when I got out, he handed me half of a soda as a "here so you can decompress" gesture. Anyway, I guess I need to stop having one-on-one interactions with this coworker. This bums me out for 2 reasons. For one, I will miss having someone that helps make the workday less stressful and more fun. And 2, I cannot believe my team members think this way of me. I guess I am also concerned about needing to tell my husband about what my boss said. He knows about my coworker, and I talk about him all the time. My husband has never had an issue with him. To add, my coworker and I don't talk outside of work at all. Our interactions are confined to the Monday to Friday 8-5 schedule. So tell me, did I cross a line? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. While it does sound like you and him have a friendlier relationship than a lot of people would have with their coworkers, Nothing about what you described sounds remotely inappropriate. How old are a lot of your coworkers? This sounds like it could be an age thing. Professional environments can have a lot of ageism towards people under 30 if the rest of the staff average 40 or older. I don't think you have anything to confess. But it wouldn't be a bad idea to tell your husband about what your boss said just for the sake of communication. While you haven't done anything wrong, keeping it from him makes it seem like it's a bigger thing than it is. You don't want him to somehow find out later down the line and wonder why you'd keep it from him if nothing weird was going on. Comment 2. I would almost guarantee this isn't about what you're doing or saying, but how you're doing it. Please note that the you is collective to both of you. There is likely a level of intimacy in your body language and interactions that someone is picking up on. Those types of things are often imperceptible to the people doing them, but others notice. A comfort level being overly close to each other, little glances, arms or legs crossed towards someone. There are so many little things that give off intimate vibes. Do with that what you will. I think your boss has your best interest at heart by bringing it up. Now, for the update. A few days after everything went down, I come back to work, and I'm just feeling super uneasy, like just kind of out of sorts. My coworker, the one I had been avoiding like crazy, comes up to me, looking all confused about why I'm giving him the cold shoulder. Like, dude, you really don't know? I can't even look him in the eye at this point, so I just make some small talk about a project we were working on to dodge any deeper convo. At this point, I'm just trying to keep things professional, but it's hard when everything feels so weird. So during our team meeting later on, I can't help but notice my boss watching me closely. He's all about discussing team dynamics, and I'm just sitting there, trying not to have a panic attack. After the meeting, my coworker pulls me aside, asking if everything is okay. He seems genuinely concerned about my behavior, and man, I just want to spill everything, but I can't. I brush off his concern, saying I'm just tired from work. It's a total lie, but what else am I supposed to say? That weekend, I'm at a family barbecue, and my husband casually brings up my coworker's name. Let me tell you, my stomach dropped, but I keep it cool and respond neutrally. Then my younger brother makes a joke about needing a work bestie like mine, and I laugh, but inside I feel all kinds of uneasy. A few days later, my coworker sends me a message on Teams about a work-related issue, and it takes me forever to reply. I just stare at the screen, feeling all this anxiety, like, am I even allowed to talk to him? During lunch, I overhear two colleagues whispering about office flirtations, and I feel like I'm going to be sick. I decide I need to confront my boss about these rumors, but when I go to his office, he's busy and can't meet with me. Great. That evening, my husband asks if I'm stressed about work, and I just nod, avoiding all the specifics. The next day, my coworker texts me asking if I want to grab lunch, and I have to decline. I'm just like, no way, not today. Later that week, my husband plans a surprise dinner for me, trying to lift my spirits. He's so sweet, but all I can think about is work and this mess I'm in. During the dinner, my husband talks about wanting to take a vacation, and I just feel trapped in my thoughts. A few days later, my coworker shows up at my desk with a snack, trying to lighten the mood. I feel so guilty for pushing him away, like he's just trying to be a good friend. I end up accepting an invitation to a work happy hour, hoping it'll help us reconnect. But at the happy hour, my coworker seems so distant, and I can't shake this feeling of something being off. Later on, he tells me he's considering leaving the company because of all this scrutiny. I just feel like my world is falling apart. After work the next day, I find him sitting alone in a break room, looking lost in thought. I go up to him, and we share this quiet conversation about the mess we're in. He mentions feeling like he's walking on eggshells, and man, that just hits home for me. On a super busy day, I get a call from my husband saying he overheard something troubling at his own workplace. He mentions hearing whispers about my coworker and my closeness, and I can feel my anxiety levels rising. We decide to meet for lunch to talk about it, but I feel this growing sense of dread. At lunch, I try to reassure my husband, but he seems skeptical of my reassurances. I get it. It's a lot to take in. After lunch, I go back to work, only to find out my coworker has been called into my boss's office. I'm just sitting there feeling more anxious with every passing minute. Hours go by, and I'm just on edge, waiting for him to come back. When he finally reappears, he looks all upset, but won't share any details. It's like, what the heck happened in there? The next day I find out from a colleague that my coworker got a warning about his interactions. I'm just like, great, this is exactly what I needed to hear. At the end of the week, we go to a company party, and let me tell you, the tension is real. During the party, I overhear another colleague mentioning my name in relation to the warning, and I just want to crawl into a hole and disappear. I've had enough of this. I decide to leave the party early, feeling so overwhelmed by all the pressure. Mini update, I eventually confronted my boss about the rumors. He revealed that someone filed a complaint about our friendship. Aita for calling out my wife's flirty behavior at her networking events. My wife and I have been married for 10 years, and we really do have an amazing relationship. We have 2 beautiful kids, a nice home, I own my own business, and things are great. We have a great intimacy life and social life outside of our family life with kids. My wife, after years in various parts of the industry, got her real estate license about 4 years ago. It was something to fill time, keep busy, and make a little extra income. The company that she's been with for the last 2 or 3 years has a real emphasis on social networking events, and it has caused a rift between us. I have attended 1 or 2 of these events, and I've left them all with a troubling feeling. I would say 9 out of 10 people I met rubbed me the wrong way. Many of them are very self-absorbed, could only talk about themselves and their success, and are very flirtatious with my wife. To be fair, she is incredibly attractive, but approachable and friendly. The last few events that my wife has attended resulted in her coming home late and involved excessive drinking. There are 2 things that really bother me about it. I feel that her professional relationships with men at her company have become more social than professional, and these networking events seem more like an excuse to go and hang out with other guys and drink. While many of them are married, I don't trust their intentions. Last week, my wife attended an event, and we agreed she would be back by 12. I even went out of my way to make a point of asking her to be responsible and to limit the amount that she drinks. Well, 2 a.m. rolled around and there was no sign of her. She wouldn't respond to text messages. I could see she was still in the general area of the event, which was over an hour from our house. Finally, after calling a few times, she answered. I could tell she was extremely drunk. She told me she was staying at a hotel with one of her girlfriends, and I had to quickly remind her that I had to be up at 4:30 a.m. to get ready for work. Long story short, she took an Uber to the train and ended up driving her car home drunk. As if this wasn't bad enough, I noticed on her phone she had very flirtatious text messages with multiple married and single men. To add, there was a similar situation to this a few months ago, and at that point, she had promised me she was going to control herself and be more responsible. But it's pretty obvious she is not able to do that. I've really had enough of this career choice. She doesn't seem responsible enough to attend these events, and it is causing a big divide between the 2 of us. I'm really at a loss for what my next step should be. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I think the problem is that you are separating her from her career choice. There are plenty of real estate professionals who don't routinely get involved in irresponsible behavior and leave their hardworking spouse and kids at home to flirt with other married and single people. Your wife is 100% the problem, not her career choice. I would be close to divorce if there's no intention to change from her. She will end up cheating on you. Comment 2. I'm sure I will get hate for this, but I find realtors, housing developers, and frankly the entire industry to be full of the most shallow, narcissistic, and sexually inappropriate people on the planet. I think it's time to have a serious sit-down about boundaries and expectations for your marriage. If your wife can't get on board, you may have to separate. Now for the update. My wife and I are headed for a separation after she took another late-night call from this guy. About a month has passed since the last incident with my wife. I think everyone knows what I'm talking about. I decided to confront her about her late nights and the flirty texts I found on her phone. I asked her to meet me after work at our favorite local diner, and she agreed. We sat in a booth, and I brought up her drinking and late nights. She laughed it off, saying that she was just having fun and working hard. I showed her the texts I saw on her phone. She denied any wrongdoing and said the texts were harmless. We argued in the diner, drawing attention from nearby tables. I felt embarrassed as other people listened to our fight. After the argument, we left the diner in silence. The following week, she went to another networking event. I decided to stay home and focus on the kids, but I overheard them talking about their mom being out late again. My daughter mentioned a new friend that mom was always with. I felt uneasy, remembering the previous flirty stuff. I called a friend who worked in real estate to ask about the events my wife attended. He mentioned a rumor about her and a colleague being close. I decided to attend the next networking event unannounced. At the event, I spotted my wife with the colleague, both laughing and drinking. I watched from a distance as they seemed too familiar with each other. Eventually, I approached them and my wife looked surprised to see me. She introduced her colleague, who seemed overly friendly and casual. We made small talk, but the atmosphere was tense. I decided to leave early, feeling frustrated. On the drive home, I got a message from the colleague asking for my wife's number. I confronted her again when she got home, showing her the message. She claimed it was just a friendly gesture and nothing more. I suggested that we both take a break from the events. She agreed, but insisted on attending one last event for networking. The following weekend, we attended a family gathering for a cousin's birthday. During the party, my wife's phone buzzed repeatedly. She stepped outside to take the calls, which irritated me. I followed her outside to find her talking to the same colleague from the event. She ended the call quickly when she saw me. I confronted her about being inappropriate in front of family. She claimed it was part of her job, but the argument escalated. I mentioned considering a separation if things didn't change. She stormed inside, leaving me outside. The conflict escalated when the kids came outside. Confused by the fight, I ended up taking them home early, leaving my wife behind. Aita for telling my husband to stop talking nonsense when I'm overwhelmed with our fussy baby. I and my husband, 34-year-old male, have a 14-month-old baby whom I stay home with, and I've been building a business in my spare time. My husband takes care of us financially, which I'm super grateful for, and I know it's a huge burden in this economy. Our baby had colic constantly for months and is just overall a really fussy, sensitive guy. I exclusively breastfed, and my husband never helped with the baby at night or got up any earlier than he always has. It's always been on me. The only time our baby is content for longer than a couple of minutes at a time is when we're outside, so I spend as much time with him outside as I can. He also has extreme separation anxiety with me. He always has, but he's a big guy, and it's exhausting to always have to choose between holding him or listening to him cry and whine constantly. It's easier during the week. We spend lots of time outside and have our routine where he helps with chores, and we have a pretty mellow, peaceful routine. When my husband is home, though, our son is way more fussy in general. My husband doesn't like to be outside, and he hates it when it's quiet in the house, and he always has music or the TV on. I and our baby both get overstimulated, and he's always scared I'm going to leave, or my husband will take him somewhere, so he's way more clingy. Even trying to get ready to take him out on a walk, just the two of us, is a huge battle because he's terrified I'm leaving without him. All this would be easier to cope with, but my husband does this thing where he just talks and talks about nothing. Like he'll make up stories that never happened and say, "Remember that time we did X, Y, and Z?" Or come up with some outrageous story about how we met, or talk about how he used to be a National Football League player. Just nonsense stuff. Sometimes it doesn't bother me, but he does it constantly. He does it when our baby is fussing and whining, and I'm already overwhelmed. When the baby is napping and I'm working and have my headphones in, even when I tell him in advance I need to focus. When I'm trying to cook dinner and our baby is crying to be held. When we're trying to get dressed to go somewhere and our baby is freaking out because he thinks I'm going to leave. It's such a stupid thing to be frustrated over, and I know it's probably a bid for connection, but it's exhausting, and sometimes it just feels like an intentional dismissal of how I'm feeling. When I'm busy or have to take my headphones out over and over because he starts talking, only to realize he's not saying anything, even after I ask him multiple times to stop, it starts to really piss me off. I don't know how to handle this anymore. I really don't know why he even does it. And he can't tell me when I ask. I've asked him to please try to be aware of what else is going on if my hands are full with the baby, or if I'm obviously working or overwhelmed. Nothing changes. He thinks he has attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, so I've tried to be understanding that this is maybe just one of his quirks, but he won't go see someone to get diagnosed. It's just why he says he can't stop, or why he keeps doing it when I repeatedly ask him to stop in the same 30 minutes. I know this is a dumb thing, and I probably sound like an absolute brat, but I really want to handle this without hurting his feelings, and I need it to change. I'm maxed out mentally and so stressed and tired, and I can't deal with the nonsense. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Jesus Christ, there is so much going on here, I don't even know where to start. Mostly though, you need help with your kid, with his separation anxiety. It will get worse before it gets better. Get him into daycare or start leaving him alone for 10 minutes whilst you go outside. He will cry, but it's okay. Babies can cry and they won't die. Your husband and you need counseling or to talk to someone. Not just your marriage is at stake, but your mental health sounds very, very fragile. There are lots of great suggestions on this post, and I hope you take them into account. Good luck and take care, Mama. Comment 2. What is wrong with this guy? This is just plain weird. He blabbers on and on about things that never happened. Something else has got to be going on here. Maybe it is a medical thing, like a brain tumor or a mental illness. Though he works a high-paying job, no one has said anything about his behavior before. This would annoy the crap out of most people. Maybe he is doing this to get out of baby duty. Honestly, this is so unusual. This seems above Reddit's pay grade. I think your best bet is to talk to medical professionals and/or sign him up for therapy and couples therapy. Now, for the update. I'm back with an update, and it's a mixed bag, you guys. So 2 days after my last post, I took the baby to a local playground because Mama needed some fresh air. We were there for like an hour, and I saw a couple nearby just laughing and playing with their kid, and it was kind of bittersweet. Like, the baby was actually distracted from his fussiness for a sec, probably because he was watching them. I felt a brief sense of relief as I pushed him on the swing, just seeing him smile. But then we went home, and of course, my husband had the TV blaring. Like, you could hear it a mile away, drowning out any peacefulness I had just experienced. The baby immediately started to fuss again, which he does when he gets overwhelmed by all the noise. I asked my husband to turn it down, and he's like, I need background noise to relax. That's his go-to, apparently. I mean, I get that he wants his downtime, but it was so loud I could barely hear myself think, let alone calm the baby down. Later that evening, we went to my parents' house for dinner. They had invited my brother and his partner, who are expecting, so that was a whole other level of chaos. My dad made a lighthearted comment about how much my husband talks, and everyone laughed. But then my husband went quiet, like seriously quiet. My mom tried to ask about the baby to lighten the mood, and I was trying to engage my husband to get him back into a good mood, but nope. So then he starts telling a story about his supposed past, like he was a National Football League player or something, just totally ignoring me. I was getting frustrated but kept it cool for the sake of dinner. After dinner, my mom pulled me aside and said she was worried about the dynamics at home. I was like, oh great, I did not want to involve my parents in this mess. When we got home, my husband seemed distant and frustrated. He accused me of talking behind his back to my family. I clarified that I hadn't said anything negative about him, just asked for advice, and we went to bed without resolving anything. The next day, I get a text from my sister-in-law asking if everything's okay. I felt a bit exposed, like, really guys? You all want to talk about my marriage? That night, my husband brought up wanting to take a weekend trip together. I hesitated because I knew the baby's needs would complicate things. He insisted it would be good for us, completely ignoring that I'm the one who does all the planning and packing for the baby. We ended up arguing about the feasibility of the trip and the challenges of parenting. The discussion spiraled into accusations about each other's priorities, and then, of course, the baby woke up crying. We both rushed to the nursery, but he was inconsolable. In frustration, my husband stormed out, saying he needed air. I stayed with the baby and felt the weight of the chaos. When my husband returned, he seemed calmer, but then said he needed to think about our relationship. He even mentioned wanting to stay with a friend for a few days to figure things out. I just don't know what to do with that, you guys. Edit. After my original post, I realized my husband doesn't get that I do the majority of baby care, which is why I felt overwhelmed. My sister-in-law was just concerned about my well-being. We've tried couples counseling before, but he wasn't open to it. Now I'm seriously considering individual therapy for myself. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.